Greetings, heathens and heretics, and Essex as well. We should probably cover that one. Myself and the drummer this week.
Hello.
This week, hello.
I haven't played drums in like months. I don't
You
like.
know, you almost don't do it
I don't.
anymore, do
I
you?
don't
So,
think I qualify for that anymore.
right. Well, former ex-drummer, Beandog, and this week we are joined by Mr. Jasper Harmer from Beyond Extinction, a local to me as well. So, Jasper, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, this is, I would say in terms of press, this is as local as it gets for me. This is very nice. There's very few people that I could probably talk about the post office to in an interview. So it's good the geographical kind of
I'm
relevance
glad
is
you
there.
mentioned that because
Yeah.
like no matter who we have on here, we always want to talk about the post office.
I find this not enough questions in press nowadays come to me and they go, "We know you're releasing an album, but Royal Mail, what's your thoughts?" That's what I need to be talking about,
Well,
right?
look, if you're sending your album out, they've got to handle it. So, it's
This is
relevant.
this is logistical conversation here, and this is now
Exactly. And I,
relevant to the
I
music
work in
industry.
logistics, so
Yeah,
let's get down to this. Shall we?
the
All right,
brass
the
tacks,
post
mate.
office.
Exactly,
It was meant to be. See,
exactly.
No, we have got you on here to talk about your debut album, which is called
Where they gather.
Yes. And I suppose like so. Let's be sort of honest here. Anybody who watches this, listens to this regularly, is know that our opinions as old farts that we are on deathcore and death metal are often sort of like I'm very fussy, right, when it comes to death metal and deathcore. We recently, Jess, we recently reviewed the new Lorna Shore album, which are a band that we've kind of, well, I have anyway. I've slated in the past and don't get it and all that kind of thing. And for some reason, a fucking light bulb moment went off with that. And I've had a bit of a similar kind of feeling with yours as well. So that's the main reason for getting you on, really, because this is a type of music that I do struggle with, but there are there are there are
he's warming to it. He's
yeah,
coming around. I can see it happening. Look at it.
The
and
dark
I,
the dark
well,
side isn't too bad, man. The dark side can be very appealing
It's.
for
I tell you what. You talk about the dark side. There was a moment where, like Tregenza and I were texting each other, and we both used the same word to describe the album. It's like you listen to it. It's like, what are your thoughts? It's like it's bleak, man. It's fucking
yeah,
bleak,
in it.
right? But what I love about that is like heavy metal is one of the only genres, and possibly the only genre where that can be a complete compliment. You talk
Definitely.
about something, it's gnarly, it's rough, it's all these words. And it's meant as a positive, and that's how we both felt listening to the album for the first time.
I'm very glad because we not just for this album cycle, but kind of since we became a band, we were all hyper aware that what you get out of live music and music in general, it's not the specifics, it's like a general emotion. Like everyone, when you remember your first gig, you don't actually remember hearing the songs, but you remember the feeling and the view of where you were stood and like it coming over you. And I don't know if you're familiar with Peep Show, but Superhands has a
Yeah.
line where he says, "We need to create a powerful sense of dread." And I probably heard that when I was about 13. I don't know what it was
Right.
that made it stick in my head, but I've always just thought, I was like, you know what? A powerful sense of dread is a really good way to describe what we're going for music because we're not really, and like you say, deathcore is a kind of, can be a bit of a contentious genre. Like I can understand as well. I think a lot of it's very samey. I for one slate a lot of deathcore bands too, and I thought the Lorna Shore album, the one they put out with the white cover, thought it was rubbish. Hated it. Could not stand it at all. But and everyone got angry at me because they were the ones winning deathcore for everyone. But I was like, man,
Right,
like
right. That's
it's
interesting.
it's
Yeah.
it's each their own, and also it's kind of like an album that can be very popular for deathcore fans doesn't have to be popular for people that aren't. And I think that
Yeah.
Lorna Shore were making deathcore for people that weren't actual metal fans in terms of the genre specifically. They were
Yeah.
fans maybe of adjacent genres that wanted to go extreme. And I think that it's great. It brought eyes on it. But I think it's good to go through with a fine comb with deathcore and death metal in these genres and make sure you're not just ripping other bands, you're not stealing ideas because
Yeah.
there's a lot of them that are the same. And I think that's just kind of doing good due diligence, isn't it? Rather than being a hater. That's just kind of having an opinion, right?
Yeah,
Right.
and from my point of view, I have got a tendency to write things off before really kind of. She's like fucking therapy, this isn't it? Um, yeah, before I really kind of like dig deep, and no, I stand by, and I agree with what you said. A lot of deathcore is quite samey, but what we look for in Dale, what I look for in anything death metal and death metal adjacent is a fucking groove. That's why I've always loved bands like Obituary and that. There's a thick groove to it, and you know. I get this,
Yeah,
right?
man.
So, and that's why we got you sat here now. So you can tell us a little bit about the album, why it's so bleak, and what people get because where this goes out, it'll be out now, so you can go and get it. So tell people all about it.
So, I mean, I think making a debut album is like kind of you hope that your career goes loads of places, but that really is like the defining moment, I think, because there's so many bands will make a bad first album and they'll
Mm.
never get to make a good one after that because it throws
Mm.
them. And I think that we always knew that. And then it became a real weight and a kind of fear almost of like, it's got to be perfect. And I think we spent several years writing and almost hiding behind perfectionism a little bit, I think. I think for
Yeah,
me, for example, I was always saying I need to wait till we've got full songs. I need to wait till we've got X, Y, and Z to start doing lyrics and things. And really I didn't. And it was just because I didn't want to decide on lyrics because if I did decide and it wasn't perfect, then it was bad. And it's
yeah,
like you have this avoidant kind of thing. And I think that what it meant was that by the time we got round to writing anything, unless it really had a strong emotive sense to it, to us, it wouldn't make the cut because that we associate the writing process with so much like fucking drag already. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
It took so much effort that unless a song you listen to it and you went, oh, that's like punched me, it didn't actually break through that. And I think it really helped. Obviously, in the middle of this writing process, we lost our old guitarist Zach,
yeah,
and that was like, in terms of defining things, I would say I'm only 24, but I can imagine that would be a defining thing in my life forever, like the way it
yeah,
changes what goes on.
100%. Yeah,
And you can't really anticipate that stuff. But one thing I would say is that not that it added, detracted, anything like that to the album, but the album wouldn't be how it is if that hadn't happened. Like the process
yeah,
of what went on, that ultimately influenced how it came out. And I think that part of that feeling of like horror and dread that you get from listening to the music is because unless that music was creating what we were kind of experiencing, like the true feeling of that,
Mm.
we knew it didn't match up. If my day to day involved feeling more anxiety and worry and concern for the world than a song about the destruction of the world, it's not a good enough song to me. Do you know what I mean? So
mm,
we had this really high litmus test to work against. Um, and it means that like when it's got to this point of coming out, it feels like it's been with us for years because it's been part of what we've been doing and growing. So as much as 26th of Sept, the album is out and everyone can listen to it, it almost kind of feels a little bit like one firework's gone off and the kind of, fireworks night was last year, it's gone by already. Like there's been so much go on and already happened. But what you forget is that that's because the effort is at that point and actually the reward is now because we've been reading like unbelievable reviews and press that
yeah. Seen
like
that.
really. I remember when we started doing the conversation about press, Jazz said to us, she was like, look, for debut albums and these things, you're not going to get big features and stuff. It's going to be quite hard to find, X, Y, and Z, but we'll go for what we can go for. And every single one of what we wanted to get, we got, and we got them faster and with more urgency and with better words and happier reviews and stuff than ever before. And I
Amazing.
think that, yeah, it's great. And we're so happy and kind of proud of what it's done. And I think that in a weird way, we associate this album with so much suffering that we've kind of forgotten that it can be a really beautiful, good thing for us. And
Yeah,
I think now we're like,
Mm.
oh, there's CDs, in the shed. There's vinyl coming on its way. There's merchandise. There's shows booked. There's people saying nice things online. You're like, oh man, 3 years of just constant graft and like
Mm.
suffering is actually worth it. And there's the validation is like you can't describe it. And I'm riding a high just by the fact that it's being out there and existing. Vinyl CDs, all that stuff, having the physicals there, which everyone can buy from our website and all those things. Being able to have that in your hands after such a long period of time, it feels like
Mm.
you've made every single square inch of the thing that you're holding. So yeah, really long journey, lots of hurdles and stuff, and tons of setbacks. But if you didn't have them, you're not going to create a really good product, I
yeah,
don't think.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
No.
yeah.
I'm intrigued by something you mentioned early on there, where you talked about like hiding behind this perfectionism, but the way you described it and the way you kind of reflect on it sounds like you had a breakthrough at some point, like in that 3 year period. When did that come, or did that come, or when? Like, how was that, and what was that?
We had, I think I would be remiss not to, if we're going to talk about moments, not talk about Danny joining, because that, in terms of a physical feeling of like enthusiasm, was really big. And I think mainly because we took him very seriously as a friend and a musician, and then he joined the band and he took it seriously. So we were like, oh, he gets it and he's on the same page as us. And it was like every idea he had, every input he had was on the same level as us. It made sense. It's stuff that we could envisage happening, and it's stuff that had the right amount of attention put in. And I think that when he joined, he started playing live for us in February 24, and we had a conversation and we said, do you want to, do some live playing for us, see how it goes, and think about kind of joining permanently? And we said, let's give it 2024. Basically, we scheduled him for all of our shows for the year. And I would say probably about a month after that, all of us knew internally that we were going to offer him the place. But it was just a case where we promised ourselves to wait till touring finished at the end of the year, and then we made a decision because we'd had issues before with pulling people in or fill-ins and stuff that it just hadn't worked out, and we wanted to be 100%, and we were, and it was a great decision, and he's brought so much in. So I think in terms of an actual point, the biggest moment I think was that, because it just gave us so much more positivity. Like a lot of the work was done, but we had a couple tracks we hadn't done on the album yet. And Danny came in, he went, "Here's 2 songs, here's 3 songs, here's some riffs," and they were so close to what you hear on the album. Like Winter Sun, he sent that to us not long after joining. We sent back one round of feedback, he amended it, and that was it on the album.
That's the
And it's
song.
like
Yeah.
it took us 3 years to write some of these songs, and we had a mate come in and go, "Oh, here's like an album worthy song that's got now like 10,000 streams in a couple months," and it's just there. It was literally like having Father Christmas fall down your chimney and just give you something. So that was like a big moment, I think, and I think we all took a lot of, like, we shared a lot of the energy that you brought in. And also, like when you work in a band for ages and you do this stuff and you put the effort in, you forget about kind of how cool it is. Because when you're a kid and you think about it, you've done none of the work, so it's all magic and stuff. And then when you have someone external step in and you do shows and they're good and they're excited and they're happy and you see it and you're like, I've got no reason to feel that way. Like, that's a good reminder to be on the same mentality, right? So yeah, I think Danny joining and playing with Danny from the start of 2024 just made like a mental difference that kind of hit. And then also in terms of the music quality, he just brought stuff in that we hadn't been able to, I think, pull out of ourselves after that period of time. And yeah, that definitely just gave us the last push that rolled the boulder over the hill, and then been fucking million miles an hour going like that, out of control since then, basically.
Wow.
Does it feel a bit cathartic now that it's out there and it just there's a bit of a weight off your shoulders? We finally got it out.
Yeah,
Did it ever feel like it wouldn't happen?
man. There's a lot of days, like there is with anything in life. There's a lot of days where I thought, I'll tell you what, if I didn't have to think about this, my life would be so much better. It'd be so much more chill and easy and stuff. And it's like that's the way things are, because like human brains do that, and you have that kind of back and forth yo-yo. And I would be completely lying if I'd said there weren't times that there was just like levels of stress and concern that made the band seem so insignificant. Losing Zach and things like that. It goes from being a how do we pursue our dreams to how do we survive kind of basis, and you lose your prioritization and your ability to decide where your effort goes in like such a weird way. And I think what happened is we had to exchange the musical part of the band for the wellness and connection part of the band for a bit. And I think we had to shift from the process of writing music and being a musical entity and being a group of mates. And I think I learned a lot from that period in so many ways, but a big one that I learned was that there is no level of success in anything you can get that is worth a friendship. And the stresses and all these things, like there is there is no level of kind of success you can get that if you sell away a part of you that's really actually good, and a part of what you have that's really good, you'll ever be able to kind of get back. And I think that what we found was that the people around us and us as a band and as a unit, that our strength was in resilience, not just being a band. And that was big for us. But yeah, man, tons and tons of late nights wondering whether the album was ever going to get done, listening to the music and hating it, all these sort of things, man. Like same as anything, mate, all the self-doubt in the world. But the only thing that beats it is this kind of weird obsession of just like, well, I've been doing it every night from now on, so I may as well listen to the demos again tonight. And even if I hate them, maybe in a month I won't. And it's that weird kind of obsessive connection and commitment that sort of drags you through it. But yeah, definitely like some lows with the highs, man. Like it's always the way it is.
Of course.
Yeah, but the lowest of the low makes the highest of the high feel that you've got to have the payoff, haven't you? So
that's it. It's the contrast. It's the dynamic of the two. There's a pretty intense concept. Well, I don't know if concept is the right word, but reading about the album, it's sort of tied together with this idea of this kind of very, very like the kind of the last city standing. Talk to us about that. Was that an idea that was there from the very start, or did that evolve over the 3 years?
I think like I never kind of made a conscious choice to like write in a kind of concept or story style. And actually most music that is like that, I don't enjoy if it's too outwardly kind of obvious that you're writing in that sort of way, in like a concept theme or like a storytelling or whatever. Do you know what I mean? There's like a lot of things that I don't fully enjoy about that. However, what I do find is that everyone, no matter what you write, takes their own music meaning from music. And I, from a young age, I loved that. I loved that I could listen to a song and I could go, that word is for my life. And they didn't write it for that. And you know what it means? The amount of times that, especially as a young person, I'd listen to metal with screaming vocals and I'd hear a line, I think I knew what the words were. 2 years later, I found out it's completely wrong. But in my mind, it made sense.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so beautiful that like I could be so wrong about something, but it's still just as good. There's
Mm.
nothing in life that you get in that way. It's like if you do an exam and you get the wrong answers, you don't still get an A. But if you go and listen to music and you get completely the wrong meaning from it, it's still just as good.
Yeah, I
So,
love that.
Yeah,
That's
that's
great.
true.
mate, it's brilliant. And I think what I thought was that if I write about personal, exact things and thoughts, and from a first person point of view, everyone's going to hear it and just think the wrong thing about it, and I'll be misinterpreted. So I thought if I write conceptual lyrics, and I guess I kind of always just thought if I write conceptual lyrics, anyone can imprint whatever they want on it, and that's their just perception of a story. It's like if you read a story from history, you might say this person did a good thing or they did a bad thing. It's just your own perception. Really, there's no right or wrong answer in most cases. So it was similar to that, and I think that also you end up just with so much more scope for good lyric writing. Like I think that vocals really are down to your knowledge of words and how they come out your mouth. And it sounds so stupid, but there are some words that sound great coming out your mouth that you just don't think of normally in your day to day. And I think that if you write from a first person point of view, without deciding to, you exclude a little pocket of cool lexiconography that you don't normally get
Right.
to work on. I say, look, I just use the word lexiconography there. I don't ever have a reason to say that apart from talking about lyrics. So this is what
Yeah.
I mean is unless you choose to go, right, I'm going to do this for this reason, you kind of miss out. And I feel like writing concept stuff gave me the ability to do that. And yeah, it's the concept itself, I suppose I should probably give some backdrop to it. We did an EP called The Fatal Flaws of Humankind in 2021. That was our first release, and that was about things through history that I observed while I was studying it when I was younger and stuff like that, that I thought were like kind of ills of human personality and character. So I wrote songs about them,
Mhm.
and those songs were in a bit of a first person point of view. I didn't really write lyrically to theme at that point. I was a lot younger. I was maybe like 16 or 17. It was mainly just cool words and phrases that I liked, breakdown call outs and things like that, right?
Right.
And then as I got older and I was writing Nothing More Wretched, which was our last EP, I wanted to actually write a cohesive thing and that there was a body to it because I was thinking about stuff like the artwork and the visual side, and I was like, it's going to be too diffuse unless there's a world for it all to live in my mind. And I wanted to kind of create that. And when I was a kid, I'd draw made up countries and I'd make made up football teams and I'd make made up languages and all these things. And I'd do it for like, not just kind of in my head, like I would make page after page of just like, history and made up stuff and lore. And I think just lore building was such a good thing for my brain. And it also gives me the chance to do that. So I did this lore building. Nothing More Wretched was about the balancing of universal good and bad via the consumption of bad things. So the idea that the universe, when it gets sick with evil, produces, like we do, white blood cells. It produces interdimensional metaphysical methods of removing evil from the world, and that was the universe taking over and destroying the world and things like that. And then I kind of took that and thought, what about maybe 2000 years beforehand? What does it look like? And then I was like, well, I see, the potential for Dune, Star Warsy level kind of barren landscapes and stuff, and then started painting this backdrop. And then what sat in that backdrop to me, this idea of the final place where all humans have come, and the world as we've gradually sort of destroyed it and exploited it and kind of I suppose animalize so much of it to fight against us and back against us, is that we are now only able to be in such a condensed area that we're forced to be around each other, and now we can't exert these ills on the world. They can only be exerted on ourselves, and that's
Mhm.
where then this spiraling comes from. And it does follow I guess a front to back kind of pathway, in that every song is about a thing going on in the city at a simultaneous time, and then the
Right.
final two songs are about the ending of that city. So the song The Mines is about a person who finds a basically they're obsessed over this mythology in the city, that there's a huge bomb that was built by the last sane civilization of humans, that was put there so that if this happened, as it did, this final city was there, it could be wiped away and there would be no people left, because the option of that was better than this. And it follows this person discovering this bomb, going through these catacombs, gradually becoming more psychotic and insane as the toxic fumes and the centuries of dead bodies being compounded onto each other as inhaling them and going crazy and hallucinating. And then this moment of clarity as he finds the bomb at the end, and it's real, and it's the only thing that's been true in the whole album, and it's not been about deceiving people, is that there's this final solution to it. And he hits the bomb, and then the final song, U235, is the ending bit, and it's just a breakdown that gets slower. And U235 is the element that you detect in the air when there's been a nuclear disaster.
Yeah, right.
So we chose that because that would be the only thing. There's no lyrics in the song, there's no structure. It's just everything reducing, and the only thing left being like the kind of nuclear fallout, basically. So it's like actually title and theme is to do with the story. So there was a lot of law writing. So in about a million hours, that was an explanation to your question.
Right. I mean, like
So
the
Basildon
album's
then,
heavy,
basically.
right?
Yeah, Baz Vegas, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's funny actually because like just this idea of the city. When the album kicks in, that opening track, my first thought was like, this sounds like the city. I mean, maybe like in a more kind of real world scenario, but like the bass drums are going and they sound like a road drill. It has that intensity of like a really close proximity, which is kind of how it feels. I live in London and I've got a real sort of love-hate relationship with it, in the sense that I love being here, but at the same time, it feels like sometimes it just feels like it's all here.
Makes you feel very small, doesn't it? Makes you feel
Exactly.
really small, man. Yeah.
And just from a musical point of view, immediately get that feeling like when that first track kicks in, it's like, yeah, this is what it feels like to be in such a confined space.
Yeah, there's a real truth in the musical I guess theories around comparisons, in that like the way you hear something is related to its context, and that if you hear something that's busy before you hear, or after you hear something quiet, it feels busier. So we've always started our releases with a long build up that then drops into something very heavy.
Right.
Because of Spotify, we intended on having the first track, Bodies at the Gates, to be combined with Where They Gather. Because of streaming platforms now, if you do that, no one listens to your song, because if you have a big ambient build up, when it suggests it to new listeners and they don't know you, they're not going to listen to a minute worth
Right.
of, so they just hit skip. So you'll notice that with a lot of bands now is they'll chop an intro track or an interlude track off of the song. And that's happened, I think, in two cases on our album. There's an intro track separated from the song because we wrote it with that there. And when we play it live, there's the build up to it and it's all one thing. And videos have that as well. But streaming doesn't allow for that as much, which is
Crazy, isn't it?
bit annoying, man. Yeah.
That's the situation we're in at the moment.
Yeah, there's a lot that could be said about that. I work for a band called Harbinger doing merch quite a lot, and they're really good friends of mine, and they've got a headline show tomorrow, and we're setting up some stuff on their merch stall about basically, if you buy this item, how many Spotify streams it would be the equivalent to.
Yeah.
And
wow, okay.
we worked out that if you buy one of their vinyls, it's the equivalent of listening to them non-stop from day one to the end of a 28th day, never stopping streaming their music. And that's the equivalent of buying one vinyl.
Yeah.
And I put that in and I printed the thing off and I thought, I'm not going to think about that for the rest of the day, because if I do, I'll get very angry.
Yeah.
But we've had this conversation before about streaming. It is a necessary evil. While it's now a lot harder for any musician to make money off their music purely from releasing it, it does make it easier to get the music out there. So
It's an advertising platform, man.
exactly,
That's what it
exactly.
is.
It's no longer your income. Yeah, you're right. It's advertising and marketing. So it's a really tricky argument, that it really is.
Yeah,
know.
man.
Which is why bands are touring harder these days. Bands are going out on tour for fucking 12, 14 months at a time, because that's what they've got to do.
Yeah, and it's crazy because it's rock and roll and it's living the dream, but it's also their job, and now they're having to work full time the entire year round, only getting time off maybe at Christmas, and doing hours that are, if they were being tracked by an employer, completely illegal for everyone on the tour package. There's not a single person I know who works on touring that doesn't work basically illegal hours. So yeah, it's like many things in this industry, in that you have to bite it and play its game, otherwise it will just cripple you financially, and you don't. So
just fuck screw you up and throw you away. It's
yeah, man. Yeah, we've had much trouble with it, but we soldier on. And also, like I said before, we've got physicals of the album, we've got vinyl, we've got CDs. We've always been committed to, when we do releases, putting that out. We always held off on putting our first vinyl together until we did our debut album.
Yeah.
We knew that was going to be the case. We knew it would be a big investment, and we didn't have any label interest that would have worked for big vinyl releases for this album anyway. So we just knew we'd have to self-fund, and it's always been something that was in our mind. But it's because, like, I don't know, man. The way I see it is 200 people with a physical Beyond Extinction vinyl will listen to that and remember that album
Yeah,
like as long
100%.
as they own it.
Yeah,
We can be listened to by 10,000 people in a month, but if 2% of them listen to us forever, I would be fucking blown away. Do you know what I mean? Because that's just the way it works. So the physicals are still there, and that's still what matters when we sell merch online, when we sell CDs and stuff at shows, and we hand that over to somebody, and that's in someone's house forever and buy a CD player forever. That still goes on, and that's really the kind of end goal, and it always has been. Do you know what I mean? We just have to now straddle this Spotify thing in the meantime of it.
Right.
so you
Yeah.
guys are you're all entirely DIY then. This is all self-released, all off your own back.
Yeah.
And I think again that's something else that's becoming more and more common because
Mm.
you've got full control. So if you can have control, take control. And at least then everything is your own destiny's in your hands, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
how's that going?
It's a lot of work. And to be honest, we're still a relatively young band, and there's a lot of the industry that we're yet to put our
Yeah,
feet properly into. So that there'll be stuff that I can't speak to, but we've got a lot of work to do for all of our stuff because we try to do all of it ourselves. We've had the same, I mean, Jazz has been our press agent since before she basically was a press agent. Like she was writing and a journalist and doing that stuff, and she basically was doing press things for us. Like, we've got our friend Josh Wagner, who's been since our first tour just around the band and a really good friend and advice and all these sort of things. Tons of people, other bands that are friends of ours, and like you sort of find your village and you kind of
yeah,
work within that. And, the more hands-on you can be yourself and the more effort you can put in, I think it connects you to your music, and it also just means that at the end of the day there's less percentages coming off of what goes into your bank account, and that means it's more viable when you can do it.
yeah,
And I think that I would say, a lot of people, I'm going to do my one devil's advocate moment here, is that a lot of people want to make it in music, but very few people want to treat music like a business. And if you want to make it in music, you do have to treat it like a business to a
yeah,
degree.
Yeah, I think that's
yeah,
a fair comment.
yeah.
Um,
You got to look at bands like Malevolence.
Those guys are just
Yeah,
literally like
yeah,
business study 101,
yeah,
perfect
yeah,
case studies of what to
yeah,
do. They know their audience, they know how to hit them, and they know
yeah,
what their audience want. And they're just going to do that. And those audience people will love them for it, 'cause it'll make them happy, and
yeah,
they'll make their living doing it. And you know what? They'll massively contribute to metal at the same time.
mhm.
And that's the model, in it. It's find people that like your band, find people that like cool clothes, make them like the two
yeah,
things at the same time, and
yeah.
then
That's
you
it.
can
And
maybe get a house.
But it took them a long time. They've
Yeah.
really put the years into that, and yeah, it's fucking paying off. And I love it. It's great to see a band that have done that whole DIY all the way. Yes, I
Yeah.
know they've now got a lot more support and whatnot, but still, it's
All-
fucking
It all
they
start.
deserve
It all
it.
starts with them, man. It all starts
Yeah,
with them.
of course it does. Yeah,
yeah, and just going back to the point about community, right? So let's talk and to talk about some more reasons to listen to where they gather. Um, like so Tregenza mentioned the groove in the album. I think the first track where I really felt that was Tyranny, and yeah, it's a collaboration, so you got some guests on this album as well. So how
Yeah.
did they come about? Tell us about the like guest appearances and
We've
who else
actually
is
got
involved.
good stories for both of these, and it's nice when you get things that are good to tell stories for. Like a bit of backdrop, like our band name was just made up in a Snapchat group chat when we were kids. When everyone's like, "Oh, what does the band name mean?" I don't know. Just messaged me one day, and that's what it was. But we've got really good stories for these features. So Alex Tayan from Black Tongue and now in Aversion's Crown, he's on Tyranny, and Black Tongue are a massive influence of ours. Like you can hear it in the music, but in
Right.
terms of that sludgy, slow, evil deathcore, there is no band that's ever done it like them. And vocally, he's just been a massive influence of mine. He has an incredible knack for enunciation and putting bite and character on his words. And I like that because going back to the generic point about deathcore, there's so much that is just the same. And
yeah,
vocally, there's so much that's the same. And I'm not saying that it's, bad, because I like a lot of it. But what I am saying is that when someone lets themselves be themselves and it sounds good, that is the best.
yeah.
Like he doesn't replicate a voice. He doesn't try and sound like he's screaming. He sounds like himself with distortion and tone. And I just always appreciated that and thought it was great. And yeah, one time we were playing a show, and it was the first show that Danny played for us, filling on guitar. And our friend Dylan from Harbinger came to the show because we'd recently released a song with him on it, and he was just going to hang out. He did the video with us the day before, and then he was doing the guest spot of the show. And we got pretty drunk that night, not majorly drunk, but drunk enough that I was like, oh, we want to get him on a song. And he was like, man, he follows me on Instagram. I'll just message him. And he did. And the next day, me and him went for breakfast, and he went on his phone. He was like, oh, Alex Tayan's messaged me. And I was like, what? And he was like, because we messaged him last night. And I remembered, and I was like, oh fuck, oh no. I was like, I've just like got Dylan to message the cringest thing ever to my favorite singer because
It's a great advertisement for that sweet spot of just the right amount of drunk, though,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah,
mate, exactly. So I hear this and I'm like, fantastic. That's us never getting a guest feature from him. And then about a week later, I was walking to the train station and then he just messaged me and followed me on Instagram and he was like, I don't think he spoke to me. I think he just followed me on Instagram. So I messaged him and I was like, yo, Dylan said that he spoke to you about the feature, we'd be up for it. And he literally just like, yep, let me know when, send me the stuff, and I'll just try and get done as soon as I can. And I was like, if it was that fucking easy the whole time, I would have done this years ago. I would have asked this myself. And I mean, it's amazing because we used to have conversations with Zach about how great it would be to have Alex on one of our songs. So it
Amazing.
genuinely is like a full circle thing. I mean, I have a very good memory of Zach. The day we filmed a music video for the song Gravedigger, he'd ordered some Black Tongue merch online and he'd also ordered a new penknife along with that. And he was opening the bag and put the penknife straight through this like shirt that he'd spent £30 import tax on, like with this hole in it. He wears it in the video and you can see this hole that he's got going through it. And I always found that so funny that I was like, man, we went from fully paying like £60 just to wear their logo on our chests to drunk messaging their singer and getting a yes from it. So that was a great, backdrop for us to have it. And I'm sure from his end, it was just another feature that he did for another band and stuff. But he was lovely. We sent him some merch. He's been super sound. He shares our music a lot. And the new stuff with the Virgin's Crown is mint. So yeah, that was great. And then getting Josh on Apache, obviously it worked out marketing wise quite well for us because when he did the feature, he was in Malice and I think Monasteries. Monasteries ended, and then he became the Ingested singer when the album came out. So we've got an Ingested feature for the price of a Josh Davies Malice feature, which I can imagine he probably charges quite a lot more now than he would have done then.
Right.
However, he is of the because. I do merch occasionally for Ingested. I started doing that last year, and I've known Josh for years through all of his bands, and he's a fucking killer vocalist before anything else. Like I wouldn't have him on a song if he wasn't amazing. He's really good, and everyone who knows of his music can hear him straight away on stuff. He's and when I was younger, I was super into his band, and I was like very stoked to be able to chat and hang out and get advice from someone that was in a deathcore band doing deathcore stuff.
yeah.
And he always gave me the time of day, and it's been pretty chill. I think he's occasionally an annoying little yob, but I think that's because I'm an annoying little yob and we do it to each other. But yeah, I've got a lot of time for him. He's very funny. Basically just had said for ages to get him on a song. We had this one section and I just thought he had the kind of angry, nasty tone of voice for it. Apache is a really horrible song and it's written from the point of view of a horrible person. So I wanted it to be like that. I wanted to have that kind of nasty bite to it, and he put that on it really easily.
You needed an angry little yob.
Exactly what I was about to say. I was like, the fucking task had FAO, an angry yob on it. So I found an angry yob. And yeah, it worked out well. But Josh is killer. He's a very good vocalist. He's like a short king doing horrible noises like me. So I enjoy like seeing another guy who's like below average height making horrible toilet sounds. I'm like, yeah, man, we're on the same team here. It's good. But yeah, so great features from like cool people that we've got a lot of time for, like musically and as people. So
Yeah, that's fucking cool. That's really cool. So the album's out. It is now, as you're watching this. What are the plans now for the next sort of 12 months? Are you looking towards next year in the summer and festivals and all that kind of stuff? You want to get out of the UK and maybe touch into Europe? Is that the plan?
yeah, man. Yeah, so we've got I'm not sure if there's been any sort of public statement about this, and I don't think there has been. So this actually may be a thing
Can we
that
have
might.
an exclusive?
Yeah, this might be either an exclusive or a I need you to cut it out thing. But and that's the first time I think in this press cycle I've actually had a thing where I've gone, oh fuck, I might not be able to say that, but I'll say it anyway, and then I'll ask for permission and I'll let you know. But Stephen Moss from Echelon Artists picked us up about 3 months ago, which is our first time having a booking agent. I work doing a lot of booking stuff for a lot of bands, so first of all, amazing not to have to be doing that myself anymore. Fucking very stoked that someone else is going to be doing the heavy lifting in terms of that. Right. And equally as stoked because it's a really reputable agency with really cool bands on the roster. Stephen's made it very clear what his goals are for us, and the kind of they align with what we want. And and ultimately same as everything, he takes our band as seriously as we do. I think that he doesn't want us messing around for the sake of it. Like, sometimes you need someone to tell you, here's the stage you're at, you want to be doing X, Y, and Z. So it's good to have advice. And also like, there's good conversations about shows that we want to do, what our plans want to be, things that we want to hit, and that kind of line with stuff that he's able to give us. So we've got a cool plan that we'll be going to, I think, towards the end of 2026 that we spoke about with him. Obviously that changes, and there's no kind of
Yeah.
prediction with how booking and stuff goes really. But I would say that from, the end of this year, we're going to be looking for some really cool things into next. There's been some really cool conversations. We've got a really awesome festival booking for the UK early next year that we can't announce yet, but that'll be amazing. And they've announced some bands already, and it's fucking phenomenal. And we've got an Irish tour in October. So
Nice.
when this is out, that'll be fucking in the vicinity. And this is our first time playing out of the UK, so we're really, really stoked. We've got a show in Cork. My friend Evan, who's in a band called Worn Out, he does Dead Cold promotions, and he's put on he's helped us in loads of ways for this run. We're getting over there to do a show in Cork with Tane, and we've got a headliner in Dublin with them as well. They're like nothing like us, but really cool, kind of like synth, trancey.
Pain and mad. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely
man.
fucking crazy.
So I'm really gassed on that because we haven't played a very kind of mixed bill for a while. So that'll be really good. And then we've got the Siege of Limerick on the 26th of October,
Oh,
which is
nice.
like
Love the
fucking
Siege.
yeah, the
You,
Siege is
you played
unreal,
that. You
man.
played that, haven't you?
Yeah, a few
Yeah.
years, about 3 years ago now, but maybe two or 3 years. But such a great atmosphere there. Great
Yeah,
venue,
man.
great vibe. Love the Siege.
Yeah, man, for real. And the thing that I found great about it was that like sorting that was I went there with Harbinger when they headlined it. And it was amazing. It was like 50-hour traveling for literally a half an hour set. It was brutal, but it was such a good time. The people were amazing. But the main thing was that like come the end of the day, it was the most fun I'd ever had at a gig because everyone was having the fucking best time. It's free entry, everyone gets on with each other. It's a whole nation's worth of metal scene. Lots of travelers from other countries come down, lots of people from abroad come to it. So you get a load of people that kind of embed themselves in a new musical culture, right? It was great, and yeah, did it with Harbinger. Worked doing like merch management for them when they did it. Messaged the guy John who runs it afterwards. We had a nice chat. He said he did an arm around the shoulder after a lot of drinks when Harbinger had finished. He went, "We've got to get your lot over here at some point." And I thought, "Fucking got you, mate." Can't say that. Can't say
The
that.
sweet spot of drunkenness.
Yeah, yeah. But you can't make commitments verbally like that to someone who does bookings because I will like
Uh,
press you on it.
yeah.
So yeah, I messaged him and he was like, very, very keen to have us. Very hospitable as always. So
Mm.
we're buzzed to go to Ireland. But yeah, it's hard. I can't give firmed up details about many things in the works at the moment, which is a little bit annoying. What we're hoping is
But it's
that
exciting too, isn't it?
oh mate, yeah, yeah, yeah. And we're hoping that what happens is probably we'll get back from Ireland and then just sort of have a cascade of announcements and things that we can put
Yeah.
out to people. But yeah, it's one of those ones where again, a lot of the grafting bits happening and just waiting for those like social media posts where everyone goes, "That's so sick," and you're like, "Yes, very excited." But yeah, we're gonna be playing live a lot. Basically, that's the end goal. We like doing live music.
Now you got to get out there and peddle it, haven't you? You got to fucking,
That's what
play
it's
every
about.
fucking corner. Yeah, exactly. Well, let's touch quickly on, another pie that you've got your finger. You mentioned it a couple of times in talk booking. So you are Dead Species. So tell us a little bit about what you do and what that is.
Mate, so to be honest with you, up until about a year ago, if you'd asked me that question, I wouldn't really know. And I think that's a big part of it is that, as you guys will be well aware of, a lot of it is just you start walking and then the
Yeah.
direction you walk is dependent on the ground that you're on, to be honest with you. So I I'd done like kind of leadershipy stuff at school, like I guess started clubs and things. I knew that I liked organizing things and having people show up to them and them going well. And like, I'd done like speeches at school or like plays and things like whatever, those sort of things.
Yeah.
We had a rock and heavy metal society. Shout out Mr. Rochester for that. Plays in a band called Forged in Black, Kieran Rochester. He was an English teacher out of school and he ran the heavy metal club. They're still about. We did gigs with them. Sick band, proper like good English power metal stuff, like fucking dope.
That's
But basically, I'd done all those sort of things, and then I went to school in Westcliff-on-Sea. That's where the band met. Went to Westcliff Boys, and Chinnery's is on the seafront. So I'd been to a few gigs there, and I was like, I want to see about playing here. So I'd been in touch with my playing there. We played a couple of shows, and then I thought, how does it work in terms of running them? What's the kind of operation? Because I
Mm.
wanted to see bands that I liked there. So I had three charity festivals. Two were called Marine Metal. Marine because it's by the sea. I just needed a word that began with an M so I could do alliteration. Terrible branding choice by me because it sounds like some sort of fish and chip shop, which in Southend you've really got a lot of. Like, there's a lot of competition there. Um, but yeah, I did that, and it was for charity. We did the two metal editions, which were both in the summer. I think that was 20, I want to say 2019, 2018 and 20, I can't really remember. And they were great. Like we raised like a couple grand for charity. It was all local bands and stuff. And we had some headliners from further afield and things. And that was amazing. I loved it. And the thing that I loved about it, like it wasn't about the money. I had so much fun and
Yeah.
I lost personal money. I invested all my own money into it. I just had a laugh. Like, I was a teenager, I didn't have much money to put in, but what I did have, I wanted to put into doing this sort of stuff because it's like ultimately you can go and buy a 4-pack, but that after a while doesn't give the same payoff as like 200 people in a room having a really good night. So I was big on that. And then kind of just from there, I started putting more shows on. As I toured with other bands, I started kind of meeting other people and realizing that I was kind of comfortable and happy doing administrative stuff that allowed me to help bands with tour booking and recommending shows. And then it got to a point where I just thought I may as well just take control in some of these situations. And then, rather than me saying, oh, are you running a tour? I'll help you with, being the middleman for 3 shows, just saying I should just get some more contacts, formalize it, and then start doing it. So I've been promoting shows in Essex and some other parts of the UK for 4 or 5 years through Dead Species, and which, if you do a little bit of paying attention, is a very similar name to Beyond Extinction, because I wasn't going to think of anything
Yeah,
more.
of
You know what I
course.
mean? It's kind of
Yeah.
like I was like, I just need to find something along those lines. Like if you look at our original releases on Spotify, they're all attributed to Dead Species Records, which isn't a thing. It's not a limited company. We just put it in there, and
Nice.
so
Yeah.
it's always been like kind of breadcrumbed, right? But yeah, and I've been doing that, and the tour booking now is with some really sick bands. Obviously, you guys had that massive show, and they're fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like really, really awesome band, and doing some work with them recently, and taking them on for next year is good. So we're gonna get some more
Mhm.
things with them, but stuff like that, just like good bands that I enjoy personally, that I want to see, and you listen to. I've seen Bloodstock before as well. Like I was like a fan of their music, and now because of the stuff that I've done, I'm kind of I feel like I'm able to help out in a way. I just tried not to bite off more than I can chew. That's the main thing. Because it's very easy. I've got quite an active brain, so it's very easy for me to say yes to a lot of stuff and then go, fuck, I have not got the time or the ability to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be careful with it. So it's just been a good outlet for a lot of my musical passion to work with bands that I like, doing events and things like that I enjoy. And it's becoming a thing now, which is like sustainable. And, like I book shows, which then fund bigger shows, which then fund
Yeah.
shows that, I've got a couple coming up this year that I'm not really worried about the finance on, because that my other shows this year have covered them. And it means that I can kind of keep things rolling, keep the shows regular. I know it's going to be there this time next year. And a lot of the stress has gone from it. But yeah, it's just been basically just a musical obsession that turned into a limited company that I now have to like send invoices for, which I don't really know at what point it became that, but it
Right.
did. And now I've got responsibilities beyond what I really want to be doing on a Friday night. Normally I'd like to be out with my mates, that sort of thing, and instead I'm emailing people about, can you send
Yeah.
me the signed forms for this, please? And you think this is what I'm meant to be doing in my mid-20s, is it? But you know,
Yeah, but if I mean, you say you went, but 2018 when you started doing this, so that's what
about
6 years
then.
ago. Yeah, so you're
Yeah.
still a teenager when you started that, and to
Yeah.
take that on, I'm not patronising you. If
No, no.
when I was 18, I was a cunt. So it's well,
Still
Yeah,
still
but
am now, to be fair. But
yeah, I was gonna say maybe you just go out of the way early. Maybe that's coming later for me. Maybe the
yeah,
issue is
yeah,
that
maybe,
you've got a nice productive lifestyle now, and the issue is I'm gonna be functional as a child, and then by the time I'm gonna hit 30, I'm gonna be the worst bloke in Essex.
yeah,
So
you're gonna be ruined.
But
So,
you'll have stories, you
I'll
see.
have I will have stories. That is
So,
true.
yeah,
you know,
you definitely will. And in the words of therapy, happy people have no story. So you've got to have something in the background to make it interesting. But um, it's a passion thing, isn't it? At the end of the day, if you're willing to do it when you're 18 years old and lose money, and at that age, like you said, you don't have a lot of money. If you're willing to lose it and you still get a kick out of that,
Yeah.
then that's what it's all about, isn't it? And we go this to any gig, any of the little gigs we do at Radio City. When you just stand there and you just see these people having a fucking great night.
mm,
That's what it's
Yeah,
about, man.
it sounds a little bit self-indulgent, but it's not. It's just you seeing these people and they're having fucking fun. The first
Yeah,
show we
man.
did, was a free show at Celestial Sanctuary, headline it, and I was shitting myself. Like the whole day, the night, are people going to turn up? How's it all going to go? Are the band's going to enjoy it? All of that, and it all went off really, really well. And like, there's nothing wrong with that being a good feeling.
Yeah, man.
You know?
And to be honest with you, like going back to what we were saying before about the kind of streaming fucking malarkey nowadays, and where physical music kind of sits and
Yeah,
how it's still got importance. There is a hierarchy to the effect of certain things in music. Like, people fear social media and the influence it has, but ultimately your phone cannot hit you the same way a gig can, like really being in a
Yeah.
room. And I think that is the premium currency in music is the live performance side of it,
Yeah.
both in terms
Totally.
of like finances, but also, just the what it does to people. It's like from my side, I found myself when Radio City were clearing out for that garden thing. I DM'd them on Instagram, and I think I'd probably only been about 5 times. But I did on Instagram, and I was like, look, I don't have any skills, but even if you just need someone to go and clear bricks and rubble, I'll come and help. And I don't really know what I would have done, and if they would have said, yeah, what can you bring, whatever. But all I knew was I was like, man, I know just how it will feel when that place is full of people and you
Yeah.
go and watch a good band. And then fast forward, I was at Froglord in that thing outside my girlfriend having a sick time, and I was like, I knew how fucking good this would be. Like I
Yeah.
knew how good it would be because I knew that feeling from day one when I went to gigs where I was like, I'm in a place having this time. Like that kind of moment when usually for me it's kind of outside in a smoking area, sort of a conversation lulls out and you kind of lean back a bit and you realize you're a little bit drunk and you're like, mate, this is actually the best time ever. This is I'm having the most fun. And it's always just a little couple minutes of you just sort of this like euphoria where you don't remember anything you got on and all these sort of things. And no matter how much you put into Instagram, it's never going to do that to you. It just won't.
No.
No,
So
it's not.
the
It's not.
the the
It's
live music
moments in
part,
life, isn't it? These
It's,
are the little things that you remember,
yeah,
it
yeah,
is,
man.
and
even if
it's
you are
and
wasted.
I think it's also community as well. I think there isn't a metalhead or a fan of heavy music that can't relate to the idea of being a bit of an outsider in the everyday world, whether that's at school or the workplace or just generally in life, families or whatever. So
Yeah.
coming together in these places where everyone's like-minded and has shared an element of that in their life and just suddenly has their place, their people, their music, it's understandable why that's just something that you just kind of want to repeat.
Man,
It's your
that's
tribe,
that's
isn't it?
spot on. Yeah, the thing that I always say, right, and I got this from the first year I went to Bloodstock, that was 2019. It's the
Mm.
first ever festival thing that I probably did by myself, and like camped and stuff. And I remember going and I realized it was that I was in a field and everyone in that field got bullied at school for the same thing. All of
Yeah.
us did. We all
Right.
got the piss taken. We all got made to feel uncomfortable for liking heavy music at some point in a formative part of our lives, right?
Mm.
And that meant we were all in a field, and that was one thing none of us had to worry about. And then you
Yeah.
realize no one's thinking about that and no one's concerned about it. And this is the thing, like sometimes I walk around festivals with gigs and I see people behaving like complete idiots. And the one thing I don't feel is shocked or surprised or concerned, because even if I think they're being stupid, that's exactly what I expect in that scenario.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
is what's going to be there. And that only happens when you're in a relaxed space, when you're in a space where you let your guard down a
Yeah.
bit. And
That's true.
if you're letting your guard down, it's because there's something that you've always had to keep it up for that you're not worried about in that situation. And yeah, you put it spot on, like really exactly that sort of message. Being in a room full of people that are all there for the same reason without having to kind of clarify that, it's a good feeling.
Yeah.
Festivals are a great example because it is total escapism. In it, I
Mm.
mean, Bloodstock especially. We all know what it's like. You're confined within these fences, and
Yeah,
everything just comes out.
yeah, man.
Whether you're fucking running around dressed as a dinosaur or you're wrestling in a kilt or you're fucking doing bin
Yeah,
jousting, whatever it may be.
yeah, man.
It's just letting everything out. And look, I have a stressful job. I've got teenagers, all that kind of stuff, and things like festivals, and they are that outlet. Same with
Mm.
any gig, anything like that. Like you said, that moment that you just think, yeah, you forget all the shit,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah,
this
yeah.
is what
It's
you
just
remember.
like, yeah, everyone has that stuff, and I think that it's really important as well when people talk about the power of live music. That like my day job, I work in a you talk about day jobs. I work in a homelessness center in London, well, for a homelessness charity, and when I'm in the office, it's in like we operate a day center, a resource center, um, and stuff like live music and things is. I had a chat with one of the clients that we have at our work recently, and he was telling me about how when he's in a good place, the first thing he thinks about is making music. Is
Mm.
like when he's in stable accommodation, when he's like he feels safe and he's in a good track, when he's doing kind of well, the first thing he thinks about is music. Because when he's not thinking about, whether it be substances or something like that, the thing that has to take its place has to be just as good. You can't
Mm.
replace it with something like going to a fucking library, man. Just doesn't work. It does not work. So you've got to put something in its place. And if it's in its place, he got up and he was doing like open mic stuff in front of loads of other people that out of work at these kind of health events that we do. And like that's an adrenaline rush to go in front of people and put yourself in there. Like I could relate to him. I was like, I know what it feels like to stand up in front of people and do something that you care about, hoping they feel the same way. And like that he from his mouth, that is the thing that you can replace stuff like substance abuse with, like addiction with and stuff. It's got to be something that feels unbelievable and that makes you feel like takes your worries away. It's got to be that good, and live music is that. That's why I think you get a lot of people that are basically sort of, you know, like functional, whether it be addicts or have like almost functional like health conditions caused by non-stop touring and non-stop musical involvement, because it's like a kind of thing that they have to keep doing it, because if they didn't, they'd just like destruct in a different way. There's a lot to be said for that as well, but it's more powerful than any listening or watching or clicking can like ever be.
Agreed. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Look, you have to look at Ozzy, you know, with the build up to the final concert. He came off all his medication because he said he wanted to feel something, and that was his moment. And I think that's really important, the way you put that. Yeah,
I'll tell you what, that might be the first time Ozzy Osbourne never had substances in his body. That might be the first time in his whole life where he didn't actually have. It was like he probably was on that stage and he was like, "Oh my God, I'm fine. I can talk completely normally again." Like he probably was like afterwards had a walk around, kick about, something like that. Like absolutely, yeah. That's a rare one. I didn't know that. I didn't know that it was. I knew that he was like, to do that, he had to remove himself from most of his normal medical care, but I didn't know that he was like effectively teetotaling.
He just said he just wanted to feel the moment, and if he was still on his meds, he wouldn't have felt it.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's I think there's something poignant about that. That was nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
undoubtedly.
Yeah, there is. Let's tap into Essex a little bit while we're here, because, you know, I don't know if anybody knows watching this that you and myself, both Essex residents. I've only been here sort of 2.5 years, and what I've noticed since I've been living here, since working with Radio City Social as well, is the scene in Essex. Like, you know, for me at my age, I go back to the late 90s and early 2000s. The Essex hardcore scene, right, was huge. You know, obviously not commercially huge, but your Special Moves and your Raidens and all those kind of bands that, you know, still
shout out Raiden, one of the first bands from Essex that I ever listened to, and they were the first band I ever messaged about playing a show was Raiden. I DM'd them on Instagram when I was a kid, probably about 15 years old, and it obviously never happened, but that name is very, very formative for me as a band. So
yes, exactly. There you go. That shows you where Essex sits in that, and I think what we're seeing now, Southend, Chelmsford, and Colchester as well, is there's a proper booming scene. And, you know, what we're trying to tap into Radio City is dragging some people out of London. So look, this is out here. These great places, and it's not just all about.
There is a pint that is cheaper than £8.30. There is a place you can go where you can get back, have a full night out, and eat for less than £400.
That's true.
And it's CM postcode.
I was in Leeds at the weekend, and I paid £3.80 for a pint. Right. I was just like, "What? I'm through the looking glass here. But this
is what I mean, is that I've had nights out before where the price of a pint has made or broken my mood on that night. Well, I don't know it. I walk in and they go, "Yeah, it's £4.10." I'm like, "Fucking get in, mate. I'm having 18 of these." And it's like that feeling. You don't realize how good it is. But you're so right. Getting people out of London is really important, because traveling into London for gigs now it used to be a case where you could pop on a train, get into London, get out of London, do the gig, and it'd be financially viable now. If you're going to anything above maybe a 300 or 400 capacity show, I would say, and you're traveling from like where I am to get back home, both like logistically just to make the train timings work and to buy tickets, is minimum like £40 spend, and like 3 hours of traveling. So first of all, and this is the big thing to talk about, if you're not a person that can fulfill either of those criteria, live music that is centered around London is inaccessible to you. Like, it's not there. If you are in a wheelchair, if you are like, you have mobility issues, if you have financial like constraints on you, you effectively miss out on, as we just said, the most important part of the culture. So that's why it's so important to always have your own back garden sorted before you go about fucking knocking on everyone's front doors, right? Like, put your own scene in a good place. And I've always thought that, like, you know, from my side, I would Beyond Extinction. Whenever we play in Essex, it's always the best. We always see more people that we know. Everyone always has a better time. The vibe's always better. And it's like, that's because we played loads of shows here. And if you put the graft in, you build a community. It's just what happens. So you've got to. But yeah, I think you're right. We can't allow live music to become inaccessible to fans, and especially new fans, and we can't allow it to alienate audiences that the only people that can afford to go and see a band are people that, if you don't live on the front doorstep of a venue, people that have expendable income every week of the month, and that isn't everyone. It's just not realistic.
Yeah, and we harp on about it all the time. You know, supporting your local grassroots venue is just so important. There's so many places are shutting down all the time. You know, I might sound like a stuck record, but fuck it, I don't care. If we haven't got it, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah, man.
You know, and
Yeah, exactly.
if it's fucking £8 for a coffee in Starbucks, or go and spend £10 and see four great bands.
Yeah. So
You know,
a really important way of looking at it, and I'm very glad to have an opportunity to talk about this because I think it's really hard. Everyone likes to say thanks and nice things all the time in
yeah,
music. Everyone's always best friends to each other. I think it's really important that people that go and watch bands understand the gravity of what is going on when they do that.
yeah,
That like if you go and see a play in London, you go, fucking hell, mate. At the end, get them out, 2 or 3 rounds of bowing, clap them, look at the pictures in the thing. Like that's unbelievable. That's so incredible that they do that. And they do the same amount of acting and drama practice as musicians do in a year, and it's
yeah,
their job. And the musicians, it's not their job, and they're doing the same thing. It's real graft, right? And I just call it how it is, I think, money wise, is divide it by bands on the bill. So whatever you're paying for a ticket, divide it by what bands on the bill and say, if I said you get to do your day and pay that much money to see that set live, is that fair? And unless you're literally paying like £40 for a ticket to something, like you're paying less than a tenner most nights per band, like less than £10 for 4 or 5 people to learn instruments, create live music, distribute it, create a fan base, rehearse, travel to where you are and play that music. And all you have to do to get the good bit of it is pay £8. Like,
yeah,
what? And everyone's like, oh, how are musicians struggling so much? I'm like, I'm not gonna lie. Part of it is because people genuinely can't be asked to go out and see things. So
yeah,
you've got to do it. Like, I want to also like suffix that by saying that the people that do come out, when people come to a show and they drop money at merch and they have a good time, and you are on a tour and you've had like a shit long week or whatever, or you're cold or you're fucking ill or whatever, that shit genuinely is like what makes you go, oh fuck it, like I'm not gonna be a dickhead tonight. I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna have a chat with this person. Like it makes a real difference. So yeah, the live music stuff's there's got to be give back from the fans. There's got to be an
yeah,
understanding that, like, you know, everyone knows that venues are suffering, everyone knows that so and so is, but either the venue loses, the band loses, or the promoter loses, or the losses are spread in tiny a couple of pound increments to 100 people in a night, and then no one loses big money. It's
Mhm,
like
mhm.
you kind of got to look at it that
Yeah,
way, is that to get a band into a place and to put a show on and to make live music happen, um, that incurs costs
of course.
from the get-go. And the way I think kind of as a community music should be looked at is what are the costs of making this music happen, and then how do we distribute those costs among the community so that everyone gets their fair dues, and that if you don't want to help organize it and stuff, then your job is to pay £15 every 2 weeks to go to a gig and be part of that community, right? And
yeah,
maybe you could go to a gig for £5 down the road or something like that, or maybe you go to one gig in London a month for the price of two of those tickets, and just do that instead. But if you do that bit, then the promoter that you have in your town knows that he's or she's never going to lose thousands of pounds on a night. Maybe they
yeah,
might lose a couple £100, but they can keep doing it. So
mhm,
you know you've always got £15 live music. So when you lose your job, or when you have a kid, or when mum's birthday comes around, you go, fuck, I've hit my overdraft. You go, hey man, don't worry. You've been here every week for the last 6 months. You don't have to pay tonight. Come on in. That's what happens. That's
yeah,
what known
yeah,
people
yeah,
is.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
Boss man in the corner shop sometimes doesn't, I don't make him give me the change back. Sometimes he'll just round shit to the lowest pound. That's what goes on, because the every day I'm buying a Fanta. Like it's the way it works. Live music is kind of a Fanta, right?
yeah. What way of putting it? But yeah, you're right. You're 100% right, and it's almost going back to the old school, isn't it? That's the way it was years ago, and that's kind of what we have to do now.
Yeah.
We all have to go backwards to understand it. I don't know. It frustrates me sometimes, but look, people are human beings. Everyone's
Yeah.
got their reasons for going or not going or
Yeah,
whatever.
I'm not
But
going to slate anyone for it, and I'm also not going to say that the reason that things are tough is because people aren't supporting it. I'm just saying that, like, a solution to it in a lot of cases would be the involvement of more people in grassroots
yeah, and
music.
especially within local, like we look at Chelmsford. There's fucking what 500,000 people living here. So to pack out Radio City one night, we need 70 people. That's
Yeah.
a tiny percentage of the local area.
Man, exactly.
Yeah,
Like you've got stuff like the, Radio 2 in the park recently.
yeah,
60,000
yeah,
people came for live music, right? they did all the kind of lead up gigs to it and things like that. What a great idea! Because if you know that there's going to be 60,000 music fans in a place and you've got venues, it makes fiscal sense if you're the council to go, oh yeah, we'll lose a bit of money putting shows on and covering expenses and doing things like that and doing marketing and promoting it and paying for those things, because we know that they'll sit in a bar and that local business will make 300 quid on a tab that wouldn't have existed if we didn't do that. Like that's
completely.
It's common sense. So I guess the fans version of that is saying, oh, you know, maybe this show is like a little bit more expensive than I would feel is normal to pay, but I'm going to do it anyway. Or maybe they say, I'm going to go to this show or two of these shows instead of going to a show in London. I'm going to actively choose to do that. I think the promoter's job is to make sure that they do good due diligence, that they book really good quality bands. That's a really important thing too. Like there's a lot of promoters that kind of, they're like, oh, we're making a scene. And you're like, but you're booking the same two bands every week.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know, like you guys have done a great job in bringing variation in bands of a, you know, similarly high quality to each other. Like, you know, so it's like, it's not like you're booking Cage Fight one week and then it's sort of like open mic night for your uncle and a dog and a kind of guy sat on a drum kit the next. It's
That's
like,
the next one.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Fuck, I've leaked it. Oh no. But
it's our exclusive right there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Clickbaity title on that one. Like your uncle will be performing at Radio City next month. But yeah, I think there's basically everyone's got to do their part, and it sounds so like it's mad to say that as the final comment after a big discussion about it, but really I think the question it begins getting better when people ask what is their part. And I think there's a promoter and as a booking agent, my part is honesty and transparency, so there's more understanding between stuff. Like when I book shows and things, letting people know what costs are and why things cost certain amounts in these things. I think there's different ways, you know, fans putting money in, bands themselves being realistic and being, you know, logistically smart and savvy, all this stuff. But, you know, like you say, use it or lose it. So we better use it and use it well, do it the right way, and then it's safe.
Yeah, fucking amen to that.
Good point, well made.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, before we let you go then, a plug for where they gather, tell everyone where they can get it. Obviously all the streaming sites, all that kind of thing. Just throw it out there so everybody knows.
Where They Gather, our debut album, which is the result of years and infinite amounts of just like pain and suffering and growth and development as people, is out on every single streaming platform. You can listen to it for free on YouTube as well. If you don't have streaming platforms, you can get merchandise and live show tickets at beyondextinction.online. And if you just want to look at the album stuff, you just put /Where They Gather on that. We have vinyl, we have CDs, we have patches, we have t-shirts, we have long sleeves. We've bought all this stuff because everyone kept saying, can you please sell it? So please fucking buy some of it. That's the plug. That's the plug, because I tell you one thing right now, they look awesome, and everyone that gets one is great. And I've had loads of my mates in bands shout out Björn from Ukraine saying, please can you send me one? Please can you post me one of your nice long sleeves? And they make fucking sick merch, so they should know. So we've got tons of cool shit, and when we see people wearing it and they come to shows, it means the world. Hit the merch store up, listen to the music, involve yourself in the community. Another one, sorry, I'm plugging so much here. You've given me an open invite to plug.
Yeah.
We've got a Discord community, and we're going to cap it when it hits I think 150 members, and we're well over halfway to that point, and it's not been around that long. So we have really cool stuff in there, like infinite lifetime discount codes for stuff. We have stuff like opportunities to get merch early, show alerts early, these sort of things. A lot of involvement in kind of what content we put out and what designs we do for certain stuff, all these sort of things. And also it's just a really good way to get in touch with us if you want to find out more things about what go on and how you can involve yourself in what the band does, because whether it's getting merch or cool ideas, like really it benefits everyone. So the Discord's really cool, and at our website there's links to that everywhere, so you can join through there. But yeah, hope everyone likes the album.
Yeah, well, it's out there now, so
we certainly do.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're being converted. It's fucking horrendous, isn't it?
Nice one. Thank you guys.
Thanks for coming on, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure, and no doubt our paths will cross again soon. Considering
definitely
live fucking 5 minutes.
I do have to say though that you guys have a really good knack for booking really good gigs on days that I'm like on the other side of the country on tours.
Yeah,
like
we try our best.
Yeah. Like you've got Bay Days. Like I'm looking at that, I'm thinking, fantastic. This is going to be a really like lovely lineup. Like good number of bands as well. Like I'm not committing to like 3 days worth of stuff here, and I think I'm in Derby with Cytotoxin that day, so that's what, like 200 miles away. Fantastic, that's perfect. I had that earlier in September as well. I remember the Cage Fight show was in Guildford for that one. Yeah, so I mean, I have to plug you guys back as well. I think what you guys are doing is awesome. It's
Thank
really cool having that on my doorstep, and like having shows that are regular, that are good quality, and also people that just get it. Like, you know, Radio City are great. They get it in the community. They're involved in the football club, all this sort of shit. I'm a massive Chelmsford City FC fan, season ticket holder since I was 12 years old. We're going to do Chelmsford City related Beyond Extinction merchandise. That is going to happen at some point
Nice.
soon.
Wow.
So yeah, I think you guys are doing a killer job at just kind of
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
stapling yourself in. So fucking big up. Not that anyone who's like watching this isn't going to know that already, but
Well,
you know,
fucking,
worth reminding them.
it's, yeah, I've got no problem with it. You fucking plug away. So yeah. Thanks for listening. I hope everyone's enjoyed that, and we'll be back at some point. And the next one won't be about deathcore though. We'll drop it now. So, you know, we'll move on from that.
Baby steps. Baby steps.
Yeah, baby. We'll go back to denim and studs and leather.
Recovery is a process, gentlemen. You can take as long as you need.
Exactly. So yeah, until then, thanks for watching. Stay metal. Cheers.